Hey guys, welcome into Rhill World. I'm your host, Randall Hill, aka Rhill One, and man, we've got a show on tap for you today. So much going on in the news. I'm not going to be able to talk about it all, but I do want to talk about just a few things. Yesterday, we did have a special election take place in the 7th District of Tennessee. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Mark Kelly won't shut up. We're going to talk a little bit about that DC shooting, of course. We left off the show last week about that, so I did want to touch on that a little bit. And there's some fraud going on in Minnesota and a little bit more here on Rhill World. Thank you so much for joining me, and please go ahead and like the show if you like the content. Please feel free to send me any comments. Anything you'd like me to look into, and please share, and just hit that subscribe button. It'll only take you a few seconds here, but without further ado, we got a lot to get into. Are you ready? Well, let's go. First on the docket today, we did have that Tennessee election, and I just did want to take you through a little bit of the lead up to that election and everything that was taking place there, with the AOC of Tennessee, as some call her, Afton Bain, and Matt Van Epps there in Tennessee. This was a district that Trump did win by 22 points, so it was widely expected that the Republican would take the seat, but there was strong opposition, apparently. But I did want to show you what news stations and everybody was talking about as far as the lead up to that election there. So without further ado, here we go with some clips.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music.
President Trump.
It's an area that
Yeah, so that was one of the things that was widely talked about. That would have been that was Afton Bain, the Democrat challenger nominee. She was, if you look into this woman at any video that they showed of her, oh my God, just from years ago. And then, fast forward to just days before the election, she refused to answer any question, and she was claiming to be running on affordability. That's what we need, affordability. Just it sounds like her PR people were just like, stick to the script, just say affordability, don't say anything else, don't speak off the cuff. And I mean, that was a good strategy for days before the election. However, the damage was already done. Wanted to show you some more of the coverage that the election was getting.
Question. The president posting on Truth Social, quote, "To the great people of Tennessee's 7th District who gave me record-setting wins in each of 3 elections, I am asking you to get out and vote for Matt Van Epps. He will be a great congressman, and unlike his opponent, he cherishes Christianity and country music." Those are interesting to put together. "She hates them both. This is a very pivotal election. The whole world is watching. Make America great again."
Yes, so Trump come out and did support the Republican candidate there, and with good reason. I mean, they were calling this lady the AOC of Tennessee, and for good reason. It would have been an absolute train wreck for her to be in office. And so just another clip here of some of the news coverage that was surrounding this election here.
because Matt Van Epps is a great candidate. He will be a great representative for Tennessee 7. And Afton Bain, of course, is a self-loathing, self-hating Democrat who hates Tennessee, hates Nashville, self-proclaimed hates country music. And more importantly, she's campaigning on affordability. But in the Tennessee Assembly, she voted against tax cuts for small businesses. She opposed President Trump's tax cuts for middle-class families, which in 2026 would save Tennesseans about $4,000. She's the wrong choice for Tennessee. We need to listen to President Trump. We need to get out and make a plan to vote.
Yesterday.
Shocking. Another Democrat lying about affordability. All she was trying to do was to get into office and steal money from the rest of us, just like Miss AOC or Jasmine Crockett, or as I would say, Crotch Itch, because nothing is more annoying. So without further ado, there was an election that took place, and that election was yesterday. And it's kind of weird when there's elections in blue states. It takes like 2 weeks sometimes, and the Republican will be ahead. And then, at the end of that 2 week cycle, somehow the Democrat just pulls it off and it's squeaker at the end, I can gladly report that this election took place in Tennessee, which is a red state. They were able to tabulate all votes. Yes, all votes were in by the end of the night, within a couple of hours of the polls closing. And, well, let's just see what happened here. Yes, let's go ahead and pop them bottles.
Let him cook! I said let him cook!
Yes, let him cook. Matt Epps did win the seat. I am proud to announce that we will not have to deal with the AOC of Tennessee. We have enough train wrecks in Congress. And here is your rep speaking after the win.
We did it. Thank you all. This is just an incredible win. Tonight.
So yes, just a little bit there from him. He did have a short speech. Not enough time to really go over that, but I did want to touch on that today because that is a very, very important that we keep the majority, guys. Let's keep the stronghold of the House and the Senate and give Trump something to work with. And please, 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 Senate, Congress, let's kill that filibuster. Kill it. We know these people are train wrecks. We know they do nothing but lie. They'll say anything to get into power. And they really, really hate that Trump keeps going after all of their slush funds and slashing them in half and taking all their bonus money away. That's not bonus money. That's the American taxpayer dollars that you guys are stealing, and it belongs to the American people. So let's kill the filibuster. Let's get some stuff done for the country, and let's maintain power, which will drive them the most crazy. Speaking of crazy, Mark Kelly just will not go away. Yes, he was one of the seditious six. If you'll remember the video that I played for you guys last week, if I could only do a show every day, if I had that kind of time, man, the news cycle just keeps coming and coming. But yeah, this guy, same way, he just will not go away, spreading falsehoods and, just won't shut up at this point even. He's already in deep, deep water, and he just continues to dig himself deeper here. He's been doing shows all over the place, and I just wanted to show you a couple of clips from what he is saying as he makes his rounds.
My family knows the cost of political violence. My wife Gabby was shot in the head and nearly died while speaking with her constituents. The president should understand this too. He has been the target of political violence himself.
Yes,
the Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives, Melissa Hortman, and her husband were murdered in their home this year.
By a Democrat.
The governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, had his house firebombed this year. By a
Democrat.
Then Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley University, a place I visited just a few weeks ago.
By a psychopath.
With Republican Senator John Curtis.
Tranny gay
Faced
Democrat.
with a wave like this, every other president we have ever had in the history of this nation would have tried to heal the country. But we all know Donald Trump. He uses every single opportunity to divide us. And that's dangerous.
Wrong once again. Of course, though, he doesn't stop there, but I want to stop right there because actually, that rhetoric right there that you're using is the problem, Mr. Kelly. Yes, you are the problem, and the people that think like you are the problem. Trump is trying to heal the nation. Trump is trying to bring us together. The people that are trying to keep us divided, well, sir, that would be you. Because you know, without division, your party just doesn't exist. Your power doesn't exist. Your voice doesn't exist. And the only thing that we can get behind is America first. That is the only way that this country will be able to come together. There is no excuse for you to keep the division going. There is no reason why a country should ever side on the side of evil, which is what you guys are, which is what you guys promote. You guys talk about Charlie Kirk and got him assassinated because you didn't like him talking about family, faith, and country. That is sad. And you are one of these people. You are the divisive force. You came out with your seditious six and talking about, oh no, we were trying to say to the military to defy orders from President Trump. We just are telling them that they can. They can defy orders if they feel like it's illegal. Bullshit. We know what you're doing, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work with us. And hopefully our military people don't fall into the trap, because that's very treasonous behavior. And, you know, if they choose not to follow an order, well, what are they there for? That's not what they signed up for. And by the way, I will tell you, the military has a very, very long line of people waiting to get in at this point. A year ago, we couldn't find enough soldiers. So keep that in mind, Mr. Kelly, as you continue to spout off your BS about, oh no, we're just trying to notify people of what they can do and, you know, what their rights are as soldiers, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, but whenever he's pressed on things, he just can't come up with an answer. Check this out.
You were still in uniform. If you received an order to strike suspected drug boats overseas and kill everybody on board, would you refuse that order in real time?
Well, let me start by saying I've sunk two boats, two ships. I sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor. I sunk a Polnokny troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. Never once did I question whether those orders were legal or illegal. People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is unlawful and something that is lawful. And if I was ever given an unlawful order, I would refuse. If you have time, you can certainly go to the judge, advocate generals, the lawyers, and have a discussion about it. If you don't have time, you just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
Yeah, you see how he just does the politician thing now, because he's no longer a member of the armed forces. He does the politician thing. He sidesteps the question. She said, on this particular mission, would you see it out as the one that you're talking about, that you keep coming out and talking about, that, you know, you feel is not right, but you can't state anything that's illegal about it. And any interview you've ever given, that's what he does right there. Sidesteps the answer. He never answers the question. Answer the freaking question. And tell me something else. Why does this man look like the love child of Yoda and E.T.? My God, could he get any more ugly? This dude is just a freaking train wreck and just adds to our side. I'm telling you, we should take this midterm. No questions asked, but it's going to take work, and it's going to take our Republican force out there in full effect. Get out and vote, vote, vote. Every special election, especially as these midterms arrive, get out, have your voice heard and vote, vote, vote. We can not let these people take power. They want just nothing but division and chaos, and they're willing to sell us out, as we're going to talk about a little bit later in the program here. I did just want to play one more clip for you in regards to this, and we're going to go ahead and move on. Actually, this is just a little bit of a fun clip for me. I just want to see another boat being blown up.
For answers on U.S. boat strikes off Venezuela and whether American actions could constitute a war crime.
We're going to have an...
Oh, that was awesome. I was just doing that for... there's nothing in the clip. I was just doing that to see the boat blow up and the fire and flames, because I just love it. Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking of selling us out and Democrat nightmares, we did have a shooting in D.C. Just the day before Thanksgiving. Just an absolute tragic event carried out by an Afghan national, something that Trump's been talking about this whole time. For 10 years now since he came down the golden escalator? Yeah, that was 10 years ago, guys. And it's just kind of gotten worse and worse and worse, including a stolen election and 4 years of hell with President Otto Penn in power. Speaking of the Otto Penn, Trump has announced that he is doing away with anything signed by the Otto Penn, because the president was not aware of those things taking place. I have seen personally many interviews when he was in office asked about, well, what was the reason for this executive order? What was the reason for that executive order? His response was rather wild, like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not what that was. That was an inquiry, or that was this. No, that was an actual action. We'll get to that at a later date. This Afghan national has managed to kill one soldier and critically wound another. These two individuals were just fresh out of training and stepping into the DC spotlight. The young lady that was killed, she wasn't even supposed to be on duty, but she volunteered to take a shift so that somebody could be with their wife, children, and family during the holiday. She was a young individual, so she didn't have all that lined up yet. She could have opted to be with her family, but she opted to do the right thing for somebody else. And unfortunately, she did pay the ultimate price. So just like to say rest in peace and thoughts and prayers to the families of both of these soldiers here. And, Trump is absolutely right when he says we need to get these criminals out of our country. Also, Trump has implemented a travel ban to 19 of countries around the world that are highly prone to terrorist threats. And it's not going to stop, obviously, the ones that are already here. This man did come over through the just atrocious exit of the Afghan war that Biden saw out, and enriched terrorists across the nation, across the world, even more with our tanks and so on and so forth. Everything that was just left over there, it was just an absolute debacle. But this is one of the people that came over during that time, and there is a lot more that came over during that time. That was 2021, and as we know, through 2024 and the entire Biden presidency, the southern border, northern border, all borders were wide open. Shoot, they were flying people in from all over the world. So we have all kinds of people here that should not be here, criminals alike, not vetted one bit. You can check many news sources on that. The vetting process for these likely 20 million, I think it's probably more than that. And I just kind of want to break that down a little bit. 20 million people. That's the population of a lot of states entire states in our union. Just think about that. 20 million people. How many people that is? And the dynamic around you. Are you not seeing a difference? Are you not seeing a change? This is not the world that it used to be even 10 years ago whenever Trump decided to run. And he decided to run because it was getting bad. And, you know, fast forward 10 years now with a stolen election and the deep state running stuff. And, you know, it's really, really bad. So, I mean, it could have been even worse if Kamala would have gotten into office. So, I mean, you know, thank goodness every day for everything as around that election that took place, giving us the White House, the Senate, and the House. However, we need to start doing what's right for the American people. Kill the filibuster. Get these illegals out, especially the criminals, but they all got to go. If you're here illegally, you are not a legal citizen. You did not deserve any due process. If you skip the process coming in, as I've said once, and I'll say it once again, if you skip the process coming in, you do not deserve any due process as we get you out. Period. Speaking of people that we need to get out, the Somalis are in the news again and will continue to be in the news. This Minnesota fraud thing is just getting out of control. But I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Real quick on the DC shooting, I did have an update from Judge Janine Pirro. She is now actually the attorney there in DC. She did give us some updates in regards to the case. So I just wanted to let you guys see that.
Lackenwall was just arraigned in front of Judge Raymond and charged with 4 counts of murder while armed, as well as possession of a firearm during the course of a crime of violence, 2 counts of that, as well as assault with intent to kill while armed. The defendant is still in a hospital. He's in a medical facility, and when he is well enough to leave that medical facility, he will be put in a correctional facility that has the means to address his medical concerns. Now, the case now moves to January the 14th, when there will be a preliminary hearing. However, during the course of that time, from now to January 14th, our federal partners continue to work with the MPD, the FBI, the National Guard, everyone, to continue to investigate as well as collect evidence so that we can add additional potential charges, potentially federal charges that we can bring against this defendant. And let me just say that although we have lost Sarah, we continue to pray for Andrew Wolf. He is still in the hospital, and please keep them in your thoughts and in your prayers. And finally, let me just say, this individual was brought into this country as a result of the largesse of the American people and the American government. And he betrayed us by shooting and killing one individual, and right now harming another individual that we hope will survive. Other than that, that's all I can say.
What about their argument that you had no right to argue that he should be held? What did you think of that argument?
Well, I think it's laughable. I think anyone about whom we know nothing, and make no mistake, there's no vetting, and the fact that we don't have a rap sheet on this guy, as if he was born in the Bronx or in the district, should tell us that he is clean. We have no idea who he is. He has no connections to the community. The crime is one that we believe we will be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think the judge was very astute when she made it clear that she believed that he crossed the country with a weapon, with the intent to commit a crime of violence. And her decision was the correct one, based upon the facts and the law.
What did you and he wants to discuss after the hearing?
Oh, we didn't discuss anything whenever I go into a different courtroom, I had never met this judge before. We were very clear to say, I just wanted to introduce myself and say thank you. I do that with every judge, federal judges, Superior Court judges. You can bring a transcriber with us. I don't do anything more than that.
Judge, the president has said he wants to reinstate the death penalty in D.C. There's some debate about the legality of that, but is that something your office is considering in this case? Have there been conversations about seeking it here?
Look, that is a very weighty decision.
I'll just leave that there for the time being. I absolutely believe that this individual should face the death penalty and actually should be tried for terrorism, because he is not a citizen of this country. He does not deserve any rights as an individual that is a citizen of this country, and he should just go straight to the chair. Of course, he was invited. He was here legally, apparently. But, you know, whenever you travel across the country with a weapon, that is premeditated murder at this point, and attempted murder of another individual, and that should receive the death penalty 100,000%, especially when the crime was committed by a perpetrator who shouldn't be here in the first place. Granted, he may not be illegal, but he should not be here. But nonetheless, even if you just go by the law, he's a foreigner. Even if you're here legal, you commit any type of crime, especially one of this nature, you should be executed. Period. So I'm gonna, and then also I wanted to let you know about some other things that are happening around this. And I mean, you just want to talk about, you heard them say, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to hold this person, and da 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 da. You know, the Democrats are already starting their little whining because they want to defend all of their international criminals and everybody that's doing their work, their dirty work for them, because they just want all the chaos and they want nothing but criminals to run wild and do their thing. Well, a lot of individuals are actually blaming Trump. Yeah, not the shooter. Oh, no. We're not going to blame the shooter for this. Let's blame Trump. Want to see what I'm talking about? Here you go.
Before the holiday commenced last week, a terrible tragedy occurred in Washington, D.C. A gunman opened fire on 2 National Guard troops just a few blocks from the White House. One was killed and another was wounded. Now is the time for thoughts and prayers for the family of the slain guardsman, whose name is Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, and for Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who's currently fighting for his life. Thoughts and prayers for them.
Absolutely.
Yet some in the mainstream media are already pointing the blame for this hideous act of violence not at the alleged killer who's in custody, but on the national political climate, or more specifically on the decision by President Donald Trump to deploy the Guard to D.C. in the first place. That's contemptible, it's disgusting, and it's wrong. The blameworthy party is actually, of course, the alleged shooter. Now, this suspect, who was apprehended in the immediate aftermath of the attack, is Ramanallah Lakhanwal, a native of Afghanistan who came to the U.S. in 2021 during the Biden administration. Lakhanwal is one of thousands of such people who were given high priority to come to the U.S. as American forces withdrew from Afghanistan.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you hear that from another source, not just me. And, you know, I will let you know my sources at any point in time. If you wanted to know where I'm getting my information from, I'm an open book. Hit me in the comments, and I would love to chat with you about that. So lastly, I wanted to talk about a Minnesota fraud that's going on. I touched on it a little bit last week, with Feeding Our Future. And apparently there's we talked about it. There's going to be more and more and more coming up about this. But Tim Walz is complicit the whole way, as stated by, the state of Minnesota's DHS. Yes, the state of Minnesota DHS department, many people in that department has come out against Tim Walz and saying that he knew everything and was complicit the whole time. I just wanted to show you a few clips in that regard. So without further ado, here's The Hill again. Thank you for our friends at The Hill for a couple of these clips here.
It reads, over the last 5 years, law enforcement officials say fraud took root in pockets of Minnesota's Somali diaspora as scores of individuals made small fortunes by setting up companies that build state agencies for millions of dollars worth of social services that were never provided. Debate over the fraud has opened new rifts between the state's Somali community and other Minnesotans, and has left some Somali Americans saying they are unfairly facing a new layer of suspicion against them rather than the small group accused of fraud.
Did you hear that? They're taking advantage of children with the Feeding the Future and not providing the meals that they were charging the federal and state governments for, but also autistic people and people with disabilities were not receiving the services that was being paid for by the government and supposed to be carried out by these people. This clip does continue.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is facing heat for the scandal, too. An X account led by employees of the Minnesota Department of Human Services is alleging that Tim Walz knew about the fraud and did nothing to stop it. The account says, in part, Tim Walz is 100% responsible for this massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. As staff, we firsthand witnessed and observed fraud happening, yet we were shut down, reassigned, and told to keep quiet. Sometimes more. Leadership did not want to appear to discriminate against certain communities and were unwilling to take action, such as stopping fraud that would have an adverse impact on their image.
Yeah. Talk about disgusting. This man wanted to be VP. And he would have been VP to what would have been the worst president in history, as she was the worst vice president in history to the current worst president in U.S. history. So just imagine the bullet that we dodged on that one. I'm at a loss of words for what is happening in Minnesota, what is happening in our country. Trump is absolutely right and has been right with the travel ban. That needs to be a permanent thing. Not only travel, but, any people seeking asylum, they just want a better life. We can't house everybody from across the world in this country. We can't solve other people's and other countries' problems across the world. We need to worry about America. We need to start putting America first. That means let's kill the filibuster and get some stuff done. Republicans, please. Just a final note to tie up things on this fraud investigation going on in Minnesota. I did want to play this clip. I'm going to play it in its entirety. It's about 2.5 minutes, but it's well worth it. Lets you know some of the things that are going on up in Minnesota, and I'm sure you'll find it just as disgusting as I do. But it's my job to keep you guys informed. And this is also a resistance to Islam and Sharia, which is what they are trying to bring here. So without further ado, here's the clip.
And meantime, the federal government is now sending Treasury Department investigators to Minnesota looking for connections between those convicted of fraud and terrorism dollars. It's a claim Fox 9 investigated back in 2018, but federal investigators have not found the evidence. Our Corin Hoggard joining us live. And so, Corin, what are they hoping to uncover now?
Kelsey, they're looking for any evidence of money coming from Minnesota fraudsters and going to Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization operating mainly in Somalia. As far back as 2015, state fraud investigators said it was a near certainty that terrorist organizations siphoned off at least some of the proceeds of fraud that gets sent overseas. Now, Republicans see fraud as a chief political weakness of Governor Tim Walz, and they requested the federal investigation after recent reporting followed up on that 2018 Fox 9 investigation into fraud in the Child Care Assistance Program. Since then, criminals have stolen an estimated $1 billion from Minnesota social service programs.
We don't know where all of this money is going, and I think Minnesotans deserve to know if their money is going to buy real estate overseas, if it's allowing people to buy luxury cars here at home, and if any of that money is potentially going into bad actors' hands in Somalia.
My message is simple on this. You commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to prison. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. Anybody who wants to help us in that, we welcome that.
And Corin, federal prosecutors have filed charges against dozens of people. So what have they revealed about following the money?
Yeah, they've definitely traced fraud proceeds to real estate transactions in Kenya, luxury purchases in the U.S. They've also previously charged Somalis for ties to al-Shabaab here in Minnesota, but they have not connected fraud to terrorists, at least not yet.
And how did the new investigation come about, and how can it get farther than maybe these investigations that have already happened?
Yeah, Kelsey, this started this time with local Republicans making that request, and then President Trump spent last night posting 160 times in 5 hours on Truth Social, including several messages aimed at Governor Walz. Today, or yesterday actually, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he announced the new investigation while the president was posting about this. And local Republicans tell me that Treasury may actually be able to provide more expertise on international money laundering.
Yes.
So that is an angle that they want pursued that they don't believe has been pursued to date.
All right.
Absolutely. So I will keep you up to date on that, as I will stay up to tune on that. And that concludes our show. But, along with the spotlight on New York and communism, Minnesota's right there. So we're going to continue this segment. That was part of the spotlight on communism here in the U.S. And it doesn't get more communist than that. But we must, with every fiber of our being, anybody who can hear my voice, we must resist Sharia law. We must resist Islam. Do not let it happen here. Look across the country. It has never worked. Much like socialism, it has never worked. Anytime these people are allowed in the country, they start to colonize, and then they start to take over, and then pretty soon thereafter, which we're already seeing, it becomes an absolute shithole. You become a very broke nation, a very chaotic nation, a very violent nation. It's happened all across the globe. Do your own research on that. But I can give you a couple of points to take a look at. Look at Sweden. How great nation that was. And look what happened there. Germany, Belgium. Go on down the list, and you'll see it. Anytime these Muslims flee for a better life, they go and destroy the country that was dumb enough to let them in and let them practice their Sharia law, and they start creating these no-go zones, as we already have here in the U.S., people. It's already happening. And thank goodness for this current presidential administration and the people he has working behind him. We have to get behind this dude and let him do his thing. He is putting America first, whether you like it or not. You see, violence, ways of dealing with stuff. But what do you think? We're just going to say, oh, please, sir, would you mind leaving and stop stealing billions of dollars from the country, please? Please, pretty please. You think that's going to work? You guys are freaking idiots. Let's get behind this guy. Let's get behind our law enforcement. So our law enforcement is the only thing keeping us from being third world ourselves, I'll have you know. And challenge me on that too. We'll go down that rabbit hole. That is my time for the day, though. I've gone a little bit over my allotted time, but I had a lot to get in. There's so much more going on. I just wanted to touch on a few of those things, though. Remember, resist Sharia law. Kill the filibuster. Let's get stuff done. And above all, aside from the chaos and everything, as Americans, let's love each other. Let's unite as Americans and do the right thing for the country for once, Democrats. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, my name is Randall Hill. the one that they call the real one. And this has been Rhill World. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.